Shita tam tu rasam pashat idhatiti tam no masatatam rupa nama priya janam hari. Ariam Tatsat. Yesterday we started our little discussion on Madhurya Kadambini. And yesterday we tried to give a little background of Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And we gave a little bit of a gloss of the meaning of the book title, Madhurya Kadambini. And then we discussed the purpose of the book. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is expanding on the stages of bhakti from Shraddha to Prema. That's what we covered yesterday. So we'll try to cover a little bit here now. And he's giving this Mangalacharan. So Mangalacharan is usually to invoke auspiciousness, to remove obstacles to the completion of a work. That is why Mangalacharan is done. There are different types are there, like Vasuna Deshatmika and others, Namaskriya, offering obeisances, Ashirvad, offering blessings, and also stating the subject of the book or praising the deity of the book. It's called Vasuna Deshatmika. So this first verse, Mangalacharan, he's praising the deity. His worshipable deity is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's praising him. Sri Chaitanya Kripa Nirankusha Madhurya Kadambini. So he says Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Kripa, his mercy, is Nirankusha Madhurya Kadambini. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is Nirankusha, means like unrestricted or an unrestrained. Unrestrained or unrestricted. Kadambini. We mentioned yesterday, Kadambini means like when a series of clouds gathers together and is about to shower down. It's called Kadambini. So Mahaprabhu's mercy is like an unrestrained Kadambini. And what is this Kadambini distributing? Madhurya. Yeah, Maha Madhurya. Is distributing this Maha Madhurya. That's there. Madhurya or Maha Madhurya. So what is this Mahamadhurya? We discussed yesterday, Madhurya basically refers to Bhagavan. And the essence of Bhagavan is? Bhagavata means Bhagavanness. So the essence of his Bhagavanness is Madhurya. And that Madhurya in its highest feature is exhibited by Sri Krishna Vrindavan. So Mahaprabhu's Kadambini is distributing Krishna, basically, or Krishna consciousness, the experience of sweet Krishna. That's basically what it's distributing. And a nice verse, how he's distributing that. So this is important. How this shower is coming. So here he's saying Mahaprabhu's Kripa is showering Mahamadhurya. But how this shower is coming, down. So this verse you must be knowing from Mangalacharan of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anarpita charim chira kunanaya vitirnakalo. You know this verse? Samarpa yitum unata jalarasam swabhakti shriyam. So this is a verse describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's describing that Karunaya avatirnakalo. So Krishna is coming as an avatar out of kindness, Karuna. And he wants to bestow upon the people of this world Swabhakti Shriyam. Swabhakti Shriyam means the wealth of his own bhakti. Right? We mentioned yesterday, jivas in this world are poor. Are you poor? Are you impoverished? Are you impoverished also? Why are you impoverished?
No love for Lord.
Yeah, no love for God. That is the answer. So he wants to give Swabhakti Shriyam, this wealth, to the poor jivas in this world. And what particular wealth? Unata Jalarasam. Unata Ujalarasa. He wants, this is the particular, because wealth, you may have a lot of wealth, just like, in the movies when you defeat the dragon, a lot of wealth is there. But there's one particular thing that is like the crushed jewel of all the wealth that is available. So the wealth that is here is Unata Ujjala Rasa. So that wealth specifically, that means the bright effulgent rasa of Madhurya Bhakti to Krishna. So he wants to give that wealth. Anarpita Charan Chira. He hadn't given it for a really long time. So he wanted to give this particular wealth. So how he distributes this wealth. So this chapter, when Kaviraj Goswami elaborates on this verse, it's chapter 3 of the Adi Lila. So he's describing the distribution of this wealth. So how he distributes this wealth. What the answer?
Everybody.
Yeah, he distributed to everyone. How he distribute? What the answer?
Without looking left and right.
Without looking left and right. That is also part of the answer. How he distributes as well. This Unata Ujjvala Rasam, this how he's distributing.
Not considering somebody's fit or unfit.
Yeah, that is part of it. That is his consideration of to whom to distribute. But we're asking how the distribution is coming. Someone is writing in the chat box. Through Harinam, yes. Through chanting holy names. This is supposed to be like a standard answer. Can't think of it. Hare Krishna. So he gave him through Harinam. There's nice verses here. I pulled it up. Swe dware achandhale kirtana sanchare nam prem malaghanti paraila samsare. So Mahaprabhu, he took holy name and then he took prema and he strung them on a garland. They're like flowers. And he made one garland and Ganti Parila Samsare. And he gave it to Samsara, which means the world. That's a nice verse, right? Se dware achandhale kirtane sanchare. And he infused even the Anchandale, means Americans and etc. He infused them with Kirtana Rasa. That's how he distribute. So the holy name is having this prema inside, Unata Ujjvala Rasa, and he's giving it to Samsara. And to your point, who is he giving it to? Anyone, everyone. That is the characteristic of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they're a nice little section here. I'll just read it. I'll just quote the verses, but it's a nice section. I'll not read the whole thing, but I'll read a little bit of it. You know this section from Adi Lila? When he's distributing the Panchatattva, they break open the storehouse of love of God, right? So the storehouse of love of God came with Krishna also, but it was locked. So Krishna was also disappointed. I didn't do good book distribution. I didn't distribute very nicely. So he comes again as Mahaprabhu with Panchatattva, and they break open the seal, and first thing they do is they eat the fruits themselves, right? First thing they do is they eat the fruits, and after eating the fruits, they just go into ecstasy. That's how they distribute. This is the best way of distribution, is to be in ecstasy. Someone asked me this question on my Q&As I was doing on Instagram. They said, what is the best way to preach? What is your answer? What is the best way to preach?
I mean, first get experience yourself, and then you can share that.
Okay, yeah.
Prema Mada.
Prema?
Prema Mada.
Madness of prema. I don't know you'll be an effective preacher if you're too crazy. Yeah, prema means that if you yourself have happiness, then it becomes a very compelling argument. All the arguments, I remember once I was on book distribution at DePaul University, and I was arguing with this one young man literally for like 3 or 4 hours. And the argument got so like, it was like friendly argument. It wasn't, how do you say? There was no inimical or animosity there. And it was so intense, a whole big crowd came because they saw that I was dressed in saffron and they saw a big argument was there. Finally, the only thing that stopped the argument is one storm cloud came and it was starting to drizzle. So we had to wrap up the argument. Yeah. So I was like, all right, anyway, that was fun. Because I was also young, so I also like to just argue. I don't care if I distribute the book or not. So then I was getting ready to leave and he said, can I get that book? It's like he wanted to buy it for a donation. And I said, first of all, I didn't ask him any questions. I said, first, let me get a donation. And then after I got a donation, I was like, for 3 hours we were arguing. You didn't seem so convinced. Now after 3 hours, why you were buying the book? He said, because you look happy from doing what you're doing, and I'm not happy by doing what I'm doing. So that's when I first had a realization that happiness is the most compelling argument. Even in the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Dhamna Svena Siddha Narasta Kulakam Satyam Param. So Sri Vishwanath in his first explanation is giving all the arguments why the Satya Param is the absolute truth. He's making this argument and trying to deal with all the Purva-pakshas. Then finally at the end of the commentary, he says, enough with these arguments. Yeah. He says, Dhamna Svena Siddha Narasta Kulakam, by the experience of the internal potency, all these arguments are finished. I like that commentary. So after plundering, experiencing prema, then they distribution of Krishna consciousness is described like a flood, and it was flooding the whole Bengal area. Everywhere there was flooding. So the how do you say? Yeah, the joy of Krishna consciousness is like a flood. The nature of joy is that it expands itself. You've noticed that? When you're happy, then you get in a happy mood, you want others to also be happy. And if you like moping around, which is the more common experience, then that it's like contracts, right? You contract from everyone around you. You don't want to be around anyone. It's like a contraction. And when you're happy, like general speaking, there may be like some deep happiness where you experience in solitude also. But when you're generally happy, it tends to expand itself. So here the happiness of Krishna consciousness expand to all the members of the world. Ruffians. So the verse says here, I'll just read it. In the distributing love of God, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates did not consider who was a fit candidate, who was not, nor where such distribution should or should not take place. They made no conditions. Whatever they got the opportunity, the members of the Panchatattva distributed love of God. Although the members of the Panchatattva plundered the storehouse of love of God, it ate and distributed its contents, there was no scarcity. For this wonderful storehouse is so complete that as the love is distributed, the supply increases hundreds of times. The flood of love of God has swelled in all directions, and thus young men, old men, women, and children were all immersed. Only people that were trying to run away were the atheists and the Mayavadis. They saw the joy was coming. Run. So Mahaprabhu had to take some strategy to drown them also. So this is what Sri Vishwanath is referring to here in the beginning. His kripa is Nirankusha Maha Madhurya Kadambini. So it is like an unrestrained Kadambini distributing Maha Madhurya, and he's distributing it through the holy name. Okay. So after that, he's describing his mercy more. That was when Mahaprabhu was on earth, the distribution was going on like this. Everyone was getting it. Now Mahaprabhu is not here, so you gotta back to sadhana. Back home, back to sadhana. Sadhana bhakti. A little bit slower process. But Mahaprabhu's mercy is there to help the sadhana also. So he says this thing here. Hare Bapre Nama Bhakta Shashavitati Sanjivani. Mahaprabhu's mercy is Sanjivani. Sanjivani means it is giving life. Giving life to what? Nava Bhakti Shashavitati. It's giving life to Nava Bhakti. Nava Bhakti means Shravan, Kirtan, Smarnam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasanam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. These 9 forms of bhakti called Navavida Bhakti. So this Navavida Bhakti has been sown in the heart, Shashavitati. It is sown in the Hrivapre, in the fill of the heart, or Chitta, whatever you can call it like. And this mercy of Mahaprabhu gives life to this Navavida Bhakti. So this mercy refers to how he's distributing the mercy. He's distributing through the holy name, right? So it's saying here, this mercy in the form of distribution of the holy name is giving life to Navavida Bhakti. That means that if you don't do
holy name alongside
if you don't do Nam Sankirtan, then your Navavida Bhakti will have no life. There's nice verses here. This comes from CC actually. Navavida Bhakti Purna Nam Haite Hai. So it's mentioned here that Navavida Bhakti becomes Purna, complete, with the chanting of the holy name, Nam Hate Hai. And another verse, Mahaprabhu in Gambhira, when he's doing, what is this? Shishashikam prayers, he's revealing to Ramananda Roy, Saru Damodar Goswami. So he's giving purport. After he recites a verse, then he explains it.
Yeah.
Right? So first verse, Chaito Darpana Marjanam, right? Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So when he explains that verse, he says this thing, Chitta Shuddhi Sarva Bhakti Sarana Udgama. That by this Sankirtan, Chitta Shuddhi, the heart becomes purified. And Sarva Bhakti Sarana Udgama. Sarva Bhakti Sarana Udgama means it awakens all Bhakti Sarana. Otherwise, your Bhakti Sadhana will be sleeping. Just like now, Shravanam is going on, and sleeping also going on. But also, not only when performing sadhana, this will come up in Madhurya Kadambini, why this happens to us when doing bhajan, when doing sense gratification. It's amazing, when traveling, Even if you go to sleep at midnight and you have to get up at 4, you get up at 4 like it's nothing. But when it's time to do like any blood check, you start saying this is unhealthy. I have to be practical.
Watching movies for the night, no problem.
Watching movies throughout the night, no problem easily.
Standing job of the night is not practical.
When we do Bibi Madhava March,
Yeah.
he was going around doing these Ekadashi festivals, basically. You can call it a festival. So all the night he wants to follow Ekadashi like traditionally, which was like a 3-day process.
Yeah.
And the preparation day you eat only once. Then in the day of Ekadashi, you don't eat, you fast from everything basically, including sleep. And then all night you stay up and you do japa, you do bhajan, you do shravan, you do kirtan like this. So I attended only two of these festivals, Ekadashi festival, one in Vrindavan and one in Chicago. And then both times, right around 2 o'clock, I was like, this isn't healthy. But when it comes to doing sense gratification, very easily it goes on. So Sarva Bhakti Sadhana Ugama, so there's Nam Sankirtan awakens all Sarva Bhakti Sadhana. It means that without Sankirtan, then your sadhana will not have any life to it. So actually, I think you could probably experience this when you don't do so much Sankirtan. So somehow hearing is going on. It's like the whole spirit of it is like, if it's going on, the whole spirit of it is just like, all right, I'll show up, I'll do the bare minimum. But you don't get that much Shakti from it, no inspiration. You experience like this. You do Shravan. If you don't do Nam Sankirtan, if it's not happening regularly enough, then you experience it. There's no question of Smarna. So, there's some Smarna, but not of Krishna. But Archanam, some deity practice, or some Mangalarti you do, some Shastri reading, if that happens, some hearing, can't remember anything you hear. There's no life, isn't it? No life. So although Mahaprabhu is not here, you take Mahaprabhu's mercy in the form of Nam Sankirtan, and it says it gives life to the Navavidya Bhakti that was sown in the heart by the Guru. Guru sows Bhakti in the heart at the time of distribution of Shraddha. So now you have faith. I'll hear, I'll chant Krishna's glories. That is the faith that begets Bhakti when you start the process. But in order for it to be nourished, you have to, of course, Shravanandi Jaya, you have to water it with the hearing and chanting, but specifically you have to do the Nam Sankirtan. Otherwise, there will be no life. You believe that?
Well, it keeps changing. Sometimes you focus on Shravana, then you still focus on Kirtana.
You mean in the Shastras, they keep changing the emphasis?
Yeah.
But anyway, Parami Jayate Shri Krishna, Shravana. Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, right? So the Siddhanta is like this. Evamrata Swapriya Namakirta Jatanurago Druta Chitta Uchai. You know this verse? This is also spoken by Navayogendra. So they're describing how you should live in this world as sadhaka. This is one of my favorite verses. This is 11:239. You should live in this world wandering without attachment. Gayam vilajo vicharera sangha. If you're a good, proper sadhaka, live in this world, vicharera sangha, you should wander the world without attachment. Galam vilajo, singing the glories of your Lord without inhibition. Just like sometimes you get in public, you feel a little embarrassed, especially when you first got on Harinam and you join the Hare Krishna movement in the area where you grew up. And you're nervous to go run into someone you grew up with. So you become all like inhibited. Or sometimes, I remember, sometimes you're in like a public space and you feel inspired, like singing, but then you realize that you're in public and you become constrained, right? So Galam Vilajo, without inhibition. When I first really got inspired by this verse a couple of years ago, I had this image of me like going into Whole Foods, shopping in New York City, and then all of a sudden like feeling the bhav, and you just Radhe in the middle of the store.
They look all the police and cops.
They make all the police and cops, but no problem. Also, you feel the joy, and without inhibition, you just sing the glories of God. That's a genuine aspiration of mine. I still have that aspiration. Still, even though you live like this, the next verse says, Evam Vrita Swapriya Namakirta. Evam Vrita, being situated in this vow to live like this, without the attachment and just singing and hearing the glories of your Lord. Specifically, Swapriya Namakirta, through you could say the instrument of kirtan. Swapriya Namakirta. Kirtan of what? The names of the Lord that are dear to you. You like all the names, right?
Some more than others.
Some more than others. So that's a good answer. Swapriya Nam. So the ones that you like, Swapriya Nam. It's called Swapriya Nam. The names that are dear to you. Then through those names, you do kirtan, Jata Anurago. Then the Jata Anuraga means praying will come. Juta Chitta Uchai, and the heart will melt. So yeah, sometimes they're saying Shravanam, sometimes they're saying Kir, sometimes it's Smarnam, but the Siddhanta is like this. That's specifically, especially in the age of Kali, the holy name. Jayati Jayati Nama Nanda Rupa Marari. Viramita Nija Dharma Dhyana Puja Diyatnam. You know this verse? Katamat Pi Sakridata Mukti Dam Prani Namya Parama Mamrita Mekam Jivanam Bhushanam Me. I haven't quoted this verse in a while. This is a good verse. So this is from Mangalcharan of Riya Bhavata Sri Sanatana Goswami. Jayati Jayati Nama Nanda Rupa Marari. So he's giving glory to what? Nama Nanda. The form of Murari in the form of his holy name, right? Nama Ananda Rupa Murari. He didn't say Shravan, he's saying Nama Ananda Rupa Murari. Then he said Viramita Nija Dharma Dhyana Puja Diyatnam. So this line is important. Viramita Nija Dharma means giving up Nija Dharma, so Varnashram Dharma. Viramita Nija Dharma, Dhyana, meditation. Don't worry, that wasn't even on the table. Puja means like the deity worship. Puja, Adi Yatnam, and other forms of bhakti. So in the commentary it is coming. Even do other forms of bhakti like Shravan. For example, this specific example is given. Shravan bhakti. So you need to find proper person, speaker. That's one problem. Other problem is even if they're proper, you have to have faith in them. Another issue. You start with faith, but then they do something funny and then your faith contracts. That happens all the time. Or you start with faith, then you hear another one, that one sounds better. You think this one is bogus, you get confused because you already took initiation from this one. This happens all the time in Kali Yuga. You reject this one, commit aparai, go down. So he said, even in Shravan Bhakti, so much adhikar is there required. So glory to the holy name of, we're giving up other dharmas. Katama pisakrit that time. Even once you chant this holy name, mukti nam praninamya, you'll get the mukti. So parama mamrita mekam jivanam bhushaname. So Sri Sanatana Goswami is saying, this is my life and soul. Parama mamritam ekam jivanam bhushaname. This is my ornament. This is my life. Chanting holy name of Krishna. No, the Siddhanta is like this. So yeah, Shravan is there, also Smart, Padasevana, all these others are there. But here it's saying Nava Bhakti Shashi Vitati Sanjivani. That the Nava Bhakti is given life by Sankirtan. Do you believe this?
Of course.
Swagamarambe Kama Tar Partu Daha Dhamini. So another glory of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is given here. That in the very beginning, Swagama Rambe, Kama Tarpartu Dhana Dhamani. So before the outpouring of rain comes, the clouds come. And when the clouds come, immediately you get relief. Right? Just like when I was describing yesterday or the other day, when I went to Puri Yatra and I almost died. And anyway, right before Jagannath finally came out, like all the carts were loaded. And right before the Rath Yatra started, all these clouds, like it was literally a cloudless sky the whole morning. Suddenly, out of nowhere, all these clouds just appeared in the sky. and gave immediate relief from the sun. So when all the clouds appeared, you could hear all the pilgrims like, Haribo! It didn't even rain yet. The rain didn't even come. They already started cheering when the clouds came. It was like very funny. And then like 5 minutes later, the rain came literally like for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then they dispersed again. Which was super cool. It was like very auspicious. But when the clouds came, immediately everyone felt rejoiced. So similarly, before the Kadambini showers, just by the presence of Mahaprabhu's devotees, they're like the clouds and they're distributing the showers. But just by their presence, there's already Kama Tarpartu Daha Tamini. So Kama Tarpartu Daha means the burning heat of Kama. Anyone here suffering from burning heat of Kama? Burning heat. What is that verse from Bhagavad Gita? Avritam Ganam Etena Garinas Nityaverina Kamarupena Konteya Dushpurena Nalena Child. This verse from Bhagavad Gita, right? Avritam Ganam. So the knowledge, whatever little bit is there, is covered. Avrita Ganam means the awareness, actually, of the soul. Avrita Ganam, the awareness of the knowledgeable person is covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satiated and which burns like fire. Kama tapartu dhaha, burning heat of kama. This is a problem, huh? So if you don't have sangha, all you have is this heat, this summer heat. They even call it like that when, just like we were there with Jasoda, and apparently she's going through heat.
Yeah.
Kama tapartu dhaha. And our presence is not relieving her. So before this karma is destroying the whole world. There's so many different types of karma also. So it's destroying the world. Well, just by the presence of Mahaprabhu's devotees, Damini means that it becomes a little bit, you become relieved. The commentators are even saying that you can get full relief up to the point of like freedom from ignorance, which was like astonishing, depending on the sangha you get and how you associate. Swagamarambe, this is very much welcomed. These clouds, this association of Mahaprabhu's devotees, very much welcome. Because it relieves, it gives a little relief, isn't it? So therefore, sometimes when you get bewildered, you think, why am I living with the devotees? I'll just practice bhakti on my own. Does that idea ever come to you sometimes? Because you start getting on each other's nerves after some time. Or the community you're with, everyone's irritating you, their idiosyncrasies bother. So you think, I'll also practice bhakti, but I'll practice on my own. And then you leave the association of devotees. Then you notice the result.
What's the connection here between chanting the holy name and the association of devotees? Why that put together?
Chanting the holy name and association of devotees.
Yeah, why that discussion is happening right now?
The discussion is that the mercy is the holy name, right? That's specifically, that's the shower. The shower is the holy name, right? And the devotees are like the clouds, right? So it's saying here, even before the shower comes, just by the presence of the clouds, you feel relief from the great heat. So therefore, Dhruva Maharaj is also praying, Bhaktim, what is that? Bhaktim Mohu Pravahatam Amalashayanam. You know this verse? We need to do some shloka classes and get our shloka game back up. It's tired. When you first join, well, most of us, when we first joined, we would like, serious about the shlokas. Then year after year, you're losing one shloka after another, until you only remember Dehinos So this verse is here, Bhakti Mohu Pravahatam Amalashayanam. That Dhruva Maharaj is praying for the association of sadhus, whose bhakti flows towards Krishna like a strong river flows towards the ocean. So Prabhupada is writing there in the purport. Those who say that they will practice bhakti outside of ISKCON are living in a great hallucination, for this is not possible. But you don't believe that. I also didn't believe. I was like, I'm such a fixed-up devotee. My bhakti is powerful. And then I didn't have the association of devotees. My first time, this only happened to me a few times, twice, I think, 2 or 3 times where I didn't have association of devotees. My first time was 2014 when I was in Goa. I went for 1 month. I was living in Vrindavan, but I went for 1 month to Goa to do Ashtanga yoga training. And I went with one devotee friend, kind of devotee, but he's like a guru kuli. So he was like smoking weed and doing all this stuff. So for 1 month, it was bad. I was actually solid that time because I was chanting like 64 rounds that time. So I was like, somehow I managed to keep that up and do 3 or 4 hours of yoga. But the evening time was just like a lot of sense gratification. And then I got back. I remember when I got back to Vrindavan after that was 1 month away from devotees. Everyone talking about eating only. Like that was one thing that I noticed. Everyone talks about eating all the time when they don't have anything else to talk about. They just talk about eating. Really frustrating. I remember I got back to Vrindavan. I was so happy to see the devotees. I'm sorry, I made fun of you for being a neophyte. Even the neophytes were welcome. Then the next time I didn't have the association of devotees was when I first moved to New York. I was not living by devotees for the most part because I was living too far away for almost 6 months. I was traveling like that 6 months, but when I was in New York, I wasn't staying with devotees. And you realize that your bhakti shakti is very less. It gets covered over very quickly. So by what? Kama tarpartudaha, the burning heat of kama. So therefore the association of devotees is very much welcome. And this is also Mahaprabhu's mercy. In the shloka, where is that description? When Mahaprabhu is compared to the sun and moon. Excuse me, Mahaprabhu and Nityananda compared to sun and moon, right?
First chapter.
The first chapter. So the sun and moon, they have 2 functions. One function is to dissipate darkness and then to illumine objects, right? Two functions. So the sun and moon in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dissipated the darkness of, what's the answer? You remember?
Ignorance.
Yeah, that's always a good guess, right? They dissipated, what is the ignorance though? What is the darkness of ignorance? That is a good, anyone could have guessed that. Because in Vedanta is always that ignorance for it. It covers all the bases. What is that ignorance?
Atmagyan, the other
Atmagyan, no. What is the ignorance? He dissipates the ignorance. The ignorance, he said, ignorance is cheating religion. They call dharma projita kaitava atrapanamanda masara. So the cheating religion, what is cheating religion? Kaitava dharma. That's the ignorance that he wants to know. Kaitava dharma. A lot of it is going on today. But what is this specific Kaitava dharma? What is Kaitava dharma? I mean, it's cheating religion, but what is Kaitava dharma for Gaudiyas?
Karma yoga.
Karma yoga is Kaitava dharma, absolutely. Any other answer? That is also
Jnana yoga.
That's also Kaitava dharma. And what else? There's a way you can say it in one sentence. You can cover all the bases. What's that? Anything
Being a non-devotee.
Bhakti is Kaitava dharma. So, because the verse is saying, right? Dharma, projita kaitavatra paramo. So it wants to distribute parama dharma. So anything that is not parama dharma is? That's why people don't like Hare Krishnas. They come to our classes and they say, I was doing some yoga asa, kaitava dharma. We just dismiss it. Of course, we could probably use a little yoga asa on ourselves. Control the senses. We just be, but in our pride and illusion, we say this cheating religion. We just dismiss. So this Kaitava dharma, Mahaprabhu dispels the sun and moon of Nitai, and Mahaprabhu dispel Kaitava dharma, and then it illumines objects. 2 objects it illumines. What are the 2 objects? The 2 objects? Do you remember? Mahaprabhu removes the Kaitava dharma and then he gives 2 objects. He reveals 2 objects by his mercy.
For his Swarup.
His just guess anything random. So Mahaprabhu's mercy removes the darkness and it reveals 2 objects. One object is the book Bhagavatam, and the other object is the person Bhagavatam, who's relishing he uses the word Bhakti Rasa Patra, the vessel of Bhakti Rasa, the devotee. Right? So this is also Mahaprabhu's mercy, right? The Nam Sankirtan is mercy, and the other mercy is the sadhus who are embodying, Krishna consciousness. Then they're like clouds. Just by their presence, you feel some relief from the burning heat of kama, or threefold miseries. So this is also welcome. He speaks another thing here, last thing, Vishwa Upaga Ulasini. Vishwa Apaga Ulasini. So this world is compared to a river of jivas. River of jivas. And when the Lord comes with his bhaktas and with Nam Sankirtan, this river swells. And because so much Madhurya is coming, like heavy showers are coming. And so the river of jivas is swelling. And when the river swells, it moves very forcibly towards the ocean. Right? This is the imagery that is being given. So this river of jivas is there. We're sitting there doing our sense gratification program, trying to enjoy. But then this Madhurya comes, heavy flood comes, and it starts to move very forcibly towards the direction of Krishna. So this is also Mahaprabhu's mercy. It forcibly moves one. That happens a lot. I mean, maybe it doesn't seem like we see it that much, because here you hear this and the visual that comes in the mind doesn't seem to match the reality. But it actually is matching a lot. When you see people start Krishna conscious and how their life goes down really fast, and they have to fully surrender Krishna by force, isn't it? So many stories. Maybe our story also is like that. For me, in my head at least, I was moving on up in the material world. Kind of was like, grew up in the ghetto, and then got this really good position. I got a scholarship for this dance program at Fordham University with Alvin Ailey, which is like a very kind of famous dance group. So I was like moving on up. Then I met the devotees, and within 7 months I was in the ashram and my whole life finished. It happened very rapidly. And many times I've heard this question, like, before I was doing well, then I started chanting Hare Krishna.
Whole life.
My
whole life were devastated.
Yeah, they're like telling us like in the mood of grief, and we're like, Haribo, that's wonderful. It means the process is working. So maybe this imagery, if you hear it, doesn't seem to match, but it is matching. It happens that when the Madhuryas come, somehow you're receiving it. They're a flood and it forcibly moves.
Like we want to say, Gangeva Oga Udanmati.
Yeah, it's like Kunti is saying. Okay, last phrase here. So therefore, this last thing he mentions here, Duran me marushakino pisarasi bhavaya bhuyat, Prabhu. So he's comparing himself to a dried up tree in a desert. So rain doesn't shower over deserts, right? Rain doesn't shower over deserts. Too much heat is there, right? So no clouds are coming, I guess. No water is there to be evaporated to make the cloud. So the rain is not showering over the deserts. Or maybe the desert is next to some place where showers coming, and some sprinkles get on the desert, right? So here, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is comparing himself to a desert tree. So much showers coming over there, but I'm over here in the desert. He's in a humble mood, like Sadhaka, just like, was it Srinivasacharya? He would pray like this, that he was trying to get Mahaprabhu's association, right? Or is it Mahaprabhu or Gadadhar Pandit? How's the story go? Do you know? I feel like it's Mahaprabhu. And then he was going to see Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu disappeared from the planet.
Yeah.
So then he was like, okay, Gadadhar Pandit.
Yeah.
So he went to go, while he was going to see Gadadhar study Bhagavatam, then Gadadhar Pandit left.
No, but my brother said, my Bhagavatam is already wiped out. All the tears are wiped out.
Wiped out the Bhagavatam.
Go back and get the Bhagavatam.
Go back to get the Bhagavatam. So he goes back,
Come back,
and Gadadhar Pandit was left. So he's feeling like, I'm not getting the mercy. Everyone's just leaving.
Yeah.
So similarly, the Marushaki no Api, he's comparing Api means evil here, like a desert tree. So many people are getting mercy over there, but I appeared after Mahaprabhu. So I'm not like a desert tree, I'm not getting this mercy. But he's saying, even from afar, Duran me Marushaki no Api. So Duran means like from afar. From afar for us means 500 years. Mahaprabhu appeared 500 years ago, we're appearing now. Even from afar, may some of the sprinkles of this mercy touch me, Sarasi Bhavaya, and refresh me.
Wow.
Even from afar. So hearing about Gaur Leela, hearing these things, that's like in a sense, because we're not directly associated with Mahaprabhu.
Yeah.
But even from afar, if you hear, may someone sprinkle the mercy, touch me, Sarasi Bhavaya, and refresh me. So this is because also for Sri Vishwanath, he appeared after Mahaprabhu also. So he's telling this in humble mood, humble spirit. All right, last verse here. So that's his Mangala charm. And he has one for Srila Rupa Goswami also. Bhakti Purvai Shita Tam Tu Rasam Pasha Yadatadi. Ta Nomi Satatam Rupe Nama Priya Janapriya. So he's offering his obeisances to Rupa Goswami, who is very dear to the Hari, Nama Priya Janam Hari. Why? He said, Bhakti Purva Shita Tam Tu. Though previous Mahajans had taken shelter of bhakti, now by the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami, fortunate persons attain the intelligence to realize bhakti in its rasa form. So Shastra has been talking, Shastra tells about bhakti everywhere, but one of the unique contributions to Rupa Goswami, which is recognized even by the secular world, was his description of bhakti as rasa. So this term rasa is a very technical term.
Yeah.
You know, we just say mellow or taste, which doesn't mean anything to anybody. You know, so it's like, what is rasa? You say it is mellow. Doesn't mean anything to anybody. So what is rasa? It is taste. Like, what isn't ruchi taste? What's the difference between ruchi and rasa? But anyway, rasa is a very technical term. It refers basically to like a fixed love when nourished by other ingredients. That fixed love becomes the experience of rasa. I heard from Hari Prasad, he gave a very nice example. He says, just like you have an eggplant sabji. What is the main ingredient in an eggplant sabji?
Eggplant.
Eggplant. So that is called as the stai bhav, right? The fixed love, stai bhav, is the eggplant in this analogy. But do you just eat eggplant? God, no, I can hardly eat it with the mixture. You add ingredients to it. And then when you add the ingredients, it becomes an eggplant sabji, right? So then you experience rasa, some nice tastes there. If you use an eggplant, we could use a better vegetable, but eggplant is there. So rasa is like this, there's stai bhav, and then you add ingredients to it, and then that stai bhav becomes the experience of rasa. Not becomes like bhava goes away and then rasa, both are there, but it's like swells up to the experience of rasa. You know, a very technical thing there, and apparently it seems throughout history, no one had presented this concept of bhakti as rasa.
Yeah.
That's a very unique contribution. One that is recognized even by the secular world, scholars and people who are like proper kavis in India, but they're not devotees, they're just like kavis, trained in rasa shastra. It's a type of shastra. Secular ones are there also. They also recognize that Rupa Goswami is given this unique thing that bhakti is rasa. Otherwise, no one had even heard of bhakti as a stai bhav, or to speak of bhakti as rasa. So although many Mahajans there, they taught bhakti, they never talked about bhakti rasa. So this is Srila Rupa Goswami's unique contribution. So he's offering obeisances to Mahaprabhu and to Srila Rupa Goswami. And now he wants to describe their teachings basically in the form of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, specifically the stages of bhakti and how they unfold and develop. So that's what we'll talk about tomorrow. Okay. Now that's going to be fun, the stages, because Sri Vishwanath, how did he know all this about us? Did he experience, or like he was just observing and he figured all this out while observing the conditioned souls? So it's very interesting how he breaks down the psychology of bhaktis at the different stages of development. It's a very nice book. So as I mentioned yesterday, we'll be starting from the second shower, which deals with the first three stages of bhakti: Shraddha, Sadhu, Sangha, Bhajan, Kriya. And it's a lot of amazing insights that we're going to hear from that. I'll stop here if anyone wants to ask anything or add anything to the discussion that hasn't already been said, online or otherwise. Sure.
We were mentioning yesterday that on these Mangalacharna verses, there's long commentary. Is that commentary by some other acharyas or by himself? He wrote a commentary on this.
Other acharyas. Yeah, I'm reading a few. There's a lot of commentaries there. I'm reading two of them. So. Okay, we good online? Great. All right. Om Tat Sat. We'll complete this. We'll continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hari